I've had a lot of people asking me, what is this prosperous human thing that you're doing? PH7, what's the 7 all about? I know what it means to me now, this concept of thinking differently about how to achieve our goals without sacrificing what matters most, based in these 7 elements of being a prosperous human that impact our mind, our mental strength and capability, our body, physical well-being and performance, our time prioritization, where we put our time that allows us to spend time with those we care about and achieve financial security, our community, circles that we run in, people we care for, and the people we need to be around, because everybody needs to belong, our spirit, this thing inside of us that sometimes we just can't quite put our finger on, super important for who I am and what I've become. I also have these areas that are just important in these 7 things. There's more. Ultimately, it ends up in impact, the one that means something. It's about who do you want to impact? Where do you want to impact people? What do you want to impact them with? For the last couple of decades, I've built a mechanism that allows me to live what I call a prosperous life. It's not perfect. I don't think that's even achievable. And it's not balanced, this work-life balance thing that we chase. I call it living in the sweet spot, this place of healthy tension where we do push ourselves to grow. We do challenge ourselves to get better, but we don't go so far into the extremes that it costs us everything that is near and dear to us. That was a big challenge for me. I'm the type of person, A-type, go hard, competitive, get after it. All these things that would define a business person or a salesperson, a person that's after personal growth. And I was taught early on that personal growth was the key to success. This idea that if I improve myself daily, my value to the world out there will exceed those that are around me. And there's a lot of truth to that. I was also taught that through hard work and being willing to hustle and grind and outwork my competition, I could put myself into a place of value above and beyond them. While both of those things are true, the cost of doing the first in the practice of the second can cost you things that are really near and dear to you. A relationship with your wife or significant other, time with your kids that you can't ever get back, the ability to take care of your body, this gift that was given to you that if we don't take care of it, we can't perform at a high level. This brain of ours is probably the most valuable asset we have. It's what makes us different from every other creature out there. If we don't take time for those things, if we don't invest in those areas of our lives just as much as we look at trying to get ahead, because every time you push and you move into that more positive building, growing aspect of things, you're pushing something else away. Think of it as a litmus test. A litmus test goes positive and negative, and in the middle is the sweet spot where it's healthy to hop in the hot tub or get in the swimming pool, those type of things. But if it gets out of whack one way or the other, and if any of you have ever been around a swimming pool that was green or nasty, you've probably seen this situation. It's in the extremes. It's either extremely alkaline or extremely acidic. Alkaline and acidity are both corrosive. I think of that as the side where we're so after things that we become obsessed with them, and it creates anxiety that we're not living up to whatever standard has been set on us by our minds or the environment we live in. And then the other side is this feeling of not knowing what to do or where to do it or how to do it. This idea that maybe things are a little too busy, a little too crazy for what we were built and wired for. I think it's what leads to a lot of the problems we see that hurt us inside when we see them. People committing suicide, being addicted to drugs, and I'm not just talking the illicit kind. I'm talking about social media, this attraction to negativity, or this attraction to pushing others down while promoting ourselves instead of lifting others up. It is just a world that we live in right now. I think it's really sad that we don't walk alongside everyone else. You are no better or worse than anyone else out there. We're all human beings. We all have value. And when we start to position ourselves, looking at this ladder of where things are and way up here, way down there, we discount the value of humans or give more. When we live on the negative side of things, we feel lost, alone. It's acidic, it's eating away. And these things are something that I've studied for 20 years and lived pretty well for the last 10. But like I said, I'm not perfect. It's still a journey for me. I'm still working towards what I envision and what I believe now to be this prosperous life. I think we've positioned this word prosperity as something to be achieved. Western society, we've turned it into this noun. In reality, its core in the beginning was a verb. It was a way of living. It was a way of putting all things in their right place and not being overboard or underboard in any of them. One of my issues was being able to put my finger on the thing. There were times where I felt like there were gaps. I just didn't know what went in that gap. There were times where I felt like I was missing something that I needed in my life. There were certainly times where I felt unfulfilled, lacking value, worthless, and like, why do all this stuff in the first place? Through this journey to find this idea of prosperity, during that time, prosperity became almost a negative thing. Like, you're pushing too hard and trying to be prosperous. So it's like you're going to kill yourself. Or this prosperity gospel thing that if you do right by everybody, God's just going to bless you, which there's truth to that, but it's not a guarantee. When we think that's what it is and it doesn't happen, we tend to fall away from a thing that can be very important in our lives. I don't know what this is going to become. What I do know is it's something valuable for me, and as I've shared it with others, they have found value in it. And as of now, all I'm going to do is share with everyone tomorrow, Saturday, February 8th, the day my wife and I met 33 years ago. I'm going to share with everyone the concept, the context, the practical aspect of it, and then a bit of an assessment that you can do on yourself to figure out, are you living a truly prosperous life, or are you maybe living what you think is a prosperous life, but there's something missing? You're not feeling fulfilled. There's a gap there. Something is poking at you. I want to just open some doors to these 7 elements of living a prosperous life. If you're being challenged in one of those areas, you walk through that door, do the work that's necessary, and hopefully a lot faster than I went through. It took me 10 years and I'm still working on it, but I want to get you to where you feel that you're living a life that's unburdened. There's not anxiety or apathy, outrageous responsibility, or no responsibility. These extremes tug and pull at this thing inside of us saying, hey, that's too much. It's not enough. I don't want us to live in balance. That's not the game plan. I think when we live in balance or neutrality, it doesn't push us. It doesn't challenge us. It doesn't allow us to grow. And if we're not growing, we're dying. I had this idea in my mind that I was going to prove everybody wrong, achieve all the goals I had set for myself, and in the end, walk off into the sunset, retired, wealthy, hanging out with my wife and family, because I finally had the time on a big house and a big property. I had this really clear picture of what that looked like. But what I know now is I don't ever plan to retire. My goal with this is my passion and pursuit to share with others when I'm walking on this journey towards living a prosperous life. I want to be in community with others that want to live prosperously. I want to learn from others what has helped them become prosperous in their lives. I'm going to go down that path. I don't know what that path specifically looks like, but I do have a pretty good idea of how to get it started. And I want to share that with you, your friends, your circles. I'm not charging anything for any of this stuff. This isn't some kind of scheme to see if we can make money doing something. All of this is, for lack of a better term, God's will. Whatever He wants to see done in us, I'll be obedient to. If it's simply just putting this out and letting people investigate and go down their own path, it's fine. That's what He needed and what He wanted. But if we want to dig in further and peel back the layers of the onion like I've had to do over these last 10, 20 years to really get some depth into this, because that's where you find understanding. A lot of people say knowledge is power. I look at it more as potential. It's like this piece of wood. It could be something. We just don't know what yet. It could just sit there and do nothing, which I think a lot of us that chase vast amounts of knowledge, that's what it ends up doing. But it could also be a thing that starts a fire. But it has to have fuel added to it. It has to have a spark that moves it into that realm. It could also be carved and sculpted into an amazing statue. It could also be used to be functional, like a table or a chair. So all this knowledge you have out there isn't power. It's simply potential. Where it starts to gain its power, where it starts to become something real, is when we actually understand that knowledge. We're willing to do the thing that most people won't do. The hard work, the effort. I found this idea of living a prosperous life that gives me meaning, worth, and value and fulfillment by serving and helping others to be that thing. I think that's what we all want. We all want to be valuable to others and have an impact beyond ourselves that lifts others up and doesn't tear them down. Once we gain that understanding of it, it gives us insight that others don't have. We start to see how things work together. We see the bigger picture of what this knowledge means. Stop going after all the knowledge in the world out there and trying to know everything. Try to know a few things and try to know them better than anybody else. Don't just become a master, become a sage. We all get too wide. My good friend Reggie Brock helped me a lot with thinking some of those things through. He talks about being a mile wide and an inch deep. That's what most of us are. We're out there trying to gain knowledge or information, data, opinion, kind of think of that as what knowledge is. We never dig into it. We never discover if it's true or not. What led me down this path was asking these questions that were super important. These questions of, what do I believe? Why do I believe it? What influence or outside force caused me to believe that thing? And ultimately, is it true? That question right there is the one that's magical. Asking yourself about all the things you believe and why you believe them, is it actually true? What I've come to learn is that I might be headed towards the truth, but as I dig more and uncover more, some of those things are not true and I can let them go, and others of those things become more true. This hypothesis that I have, every time I try to prove it wrong, it starts to become more real. That's what's happened with this prosperous human thing. I keep trying to prove it wrong. And every step I take to do that reveals more about how right it is for me. I'm not sure that it's right for you, but I'm going to share it with you. Do a little bit of hard work first. Take those first steps. Open those doors, those things that you weren't sure what they were, that have now been defined. And try to find out if you're living in the extreme. Because when we live in the extremes, it costs us something that we value. It also creates division. I'm so tired of all the division in the world, whether it's political, religious, all of that, it really comes down to one thing. I want what's better for all people. We're all going to have differing opinions. They're valuable. They should be heard and listened to. We should care enough and love enough to take the time to listen, put ourselves in the shoes of the other person, and then to do the hard work to investigate if it's actually true or not. You can do that better by asking questions than by making statements. I see so much information out there, and it really provokes me. I feel like I need to say something about it. But then I ask myself, is that my opinion or is it truth? Is it just something I'm repeating that I saw and somebody else said it, so I believe it to be true? Or have I done the research to determine whether it's true or not? So the reason I'm shooting this video is I feel nudged, impressed to put this out to the world. I believe I know what it is now. It is a way that helps me live a prosperous life, and I believe it can help others live a prosperous life. It'll be up to you and God what this thing becomes. I hope you join me on the journey. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have this course that's coming out tomorrow that I'm going to do a little Facebook Live and that kind of stuff on. But this is a passion, and I must chase it. Not to the point of obsession, but to the point of just doing it well. Putting effort there where effort's needed without sacrificing the things that are important to me. Hope to see you on the journey.